You're watching ABC10 Plus This Week.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Thomas. You're watching ABC10 Plus This Week. California's power story, from Folsom's first plant to deregulation. The weather team has a look into how California's modern energy challenges trace back more than a century. And in dollars and cents, how to avoid timeshare scams and bad exit deals. Then we hit the back roads. John Bartell takes us to the northeasternmost edge of California, to the Tri-State Survey marker, to see how California got its shape. ABC10 Plus This Week starts now.
All this week on To The Point, the ABC10 Weather Impact Team is investigating California's power grid and how it is balancing cost, climate, and demand. Demand for electricity is expected to skyrocket with AI centers, car charging, and a lot more. So tonight, Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods begins this series looking at California's roots in power innovation.
And that's right. California continues to lead the world in energy technology, and the state has been innovating from the beginning, sending power over long-distance transmission lines since 1895, developing the first large-scale wind farm in the 1980s, and now global leaders in the solar industry, creating both opportunities but also financial strain on homeowners.
Everything just seems to get more and more expensive all the time.
And what friends we used to have don't live here anymore.
Lots of them have left.
Cindy and Paul Harmon live in the Sierra foothills, about an hour from Sacramento. They've spent the past 30 years here building memories, raising a family, renovating parts of their home, and finding hobbies in their retirement. Life out here demands resilience, especially when it comes to mounting power issues like safety shutdowns and soaring monthly bills.
Our electric bills before solar were $480, $500 a month.
Another power challenge comes from living in the wildland-urban interface, where high fire risk means the couple regularly endures shutdowns during dangerous weather.
To mitigate that,
we
we put in a Generac generator. And whenever the power goes off, it goes boom with just no break at all.
All connecting to a mini grid on their house.
That's a converter.
Okay.
And then it transmits over to the PG&E, and then that's the Generac.
A far cry from where it all began. In the 1800s, the gold rush era begins drawing out all sorts of industrialists. Horatio Gates Livermore arrives from the East Coast, hoping to make a fortune in lumber, setting up shop along the American River, using the water to power a sawmill. But as the project lingers and lumber demand lowers, the family pivots.
His kids take Dad's legacy and they convert it a little bit. They're already running all of this water through here, and instead of just running the sawmill, they said there's this newfangled technology over on the East Coast that we could maybe make electricity and really start to change people's lives here.
Sending power 22 miles downhill from Folsom, California to the state capitol for the first time in 1895.
So this is the brains of our operation. This is where an operator would stand and would watch over the speed of the generators, the amount of electricity they were producing, kind of watching to make sure that there wasn't feedback coming from station A, or once there were other generators online, making sure that everything is running smoothly.
Proving electricity was a resource people could use.
Our plant here is the first 3-phase 60-cycle power plant. And for any engineers out there or anybody that's in the know, that's the kind of electricity that flows across the big wires that we see everywhere in North America now today.
Almost hard to believe that at one time it was one power line running to this station in downtown Sacramento. But that's all it took. Demand surges, there's money to be made, and utility companies see opportunity to invest in larger, more ambitious power plans.
There's a reason why the Monopoly board has a square that says the electric company on it. Electricity is sort of always thought of as a monopoly.
Energy economist James Bushnell says the rapid utility growth and expansion start exposing major vulnerabilities.
All good, my friend. Go safe.
In the 1970s, Oil and gas shortages, a government encouraging people to conserve, and a lack of competition in the utility market set the course for skyrocketing prices.
Demand all of a sudden wasn't growing at the rates people had forecast, and a lot of utilities found themselves with these super expensive, very large power plants and much less customer demand than they expected.
Shifting the financial burden onto consumers, resulting in sharp rate increases. To promote market competition and drive down energy costs, both state and federal governments incentivize smaller, independent producers to explore alternative energy options.
And they passed laws that basically said if you develop projects like that, the utility, the monopoly utility at the time, had to buy the power from those small independent power producers.
This leads to an explosion of development, including the world's largest wind farm along the Altamont Pass.
There was so much development of small power that the utilities found themselves sort of getting too much and having to idle their own power plants as a consequence of it. And so, although it did lead to a lot of innovation, it didn't really help lower prices.
As a result, power bills rise again during the 80s and into the 90s. By the mid-1990s, the state feels pressure to act, passing Assembly Bill 1890. This groundbreaking California reform is the first of its kind in the nation, aiming to lower utility prices by deregulating the industry and creating the California Independent System Operator to manage the grid. But the biggest energy crisis is looming: rolling blackouts, manufactured shortages, and a complete breakdown of market institutions.
I don't think California has been that forward-thinking in pulling all of it together and managing it well. There's been a lot of politics in it.
All right, Monica joining us now. It's really interesting to just look back and see how California really has been a pioneer when it comes to leading in energy and power. But I do want to ask you, the economist that you spoke with, did he make any connection between, some of this early development and higher upfront costs?
Well, the short answer is yes. James Bushnell, the UC Davis energy economist who we heard from in the story, said power prices would probably be lower if we hadn't made such an aggressive move into renewables 15 to 20 years ago. But because we were the first movers in this sector, that meant those upfront costs were going to be a little bit higher. But Alex, as we're going to hear in part 2 of this series, those renewables are in fact what may help to pull us into the future as demand starts to grow.
All right, Monica, and happy you mentioned that because we will have more of California's power struggle coming up tomorrow night right here on To The Point. Meteorologist Brendan Minchef explains how utilities and the state are innovating California's power grid. You can also stream this series right now, if you can't wait till tomorrow, on our ABC10 Plus TV streaming app. Monica, as always, thank you so much. And if you are going to vote by mail, state election officials are urging people to do so ahead of Election Day. ABC10's Becca Hotbecker joins us live in studio. And Becca, it is all because of a change that the U.S. Postal Service has made, right?
Yeah, ballots sent by mail have to be postmarked by Election Day, but new this year, changes at the U.S. Postal Service might delay that postmark by a day or two. So if you're voting by mail, here's what you need to know about timing. California Secretary of State Dr. Shirley Weber and Attorney General Rob Bonta are urging voters who are casting their ballot by mail to do so no later than Saturday, November 1st, since California law requires ballots be postmarked by Election Day in order to be counted. In this case, that's postmarked by November 4th.
If you're going to put it in the mailbox, do it now and get your ballot in.
As Bonta explained at a news conference earlier this month,
due to a change in the United States Postal Service's policies, mail-in ballots in some communities will not be postmarked the day they are mailed, but will instead be postmarked a day later.
He says people living in communities more than 50 miles from California's 6 regional mail processing facilities might see their ballot postmarked the day after dropping it in the mailbox.
Get your vote by mail ballot submitted through the USPS if you're going to use a USPS system by November 1st to ensure that your ballot will be counted in our election.
Armando Salud Ambriz is clerk, recorder, and registrar of voters for Nevada County, most of which lies outside that 50-mile proximity to a regional mail processing facility. He says you can always bring your ballot envelope to the service counter at a post office.
If you visit your local post office and you want to get that comfort of knowing that your ballot was postmarked, go ahead and ask the postal clerk to postmark it and you'll be fine.
The U.S. Postal Service tells ABC10 in a statement, in part, given the variety of ways mail pieces enter the postal network, the U.S. Postal Service has never guaranteed same-day postmarking. There are changes occurring in our regional transportation schedules as we optimize our network. These can change the timeline for the postmark. It is becoming more common that mail is postmarked at the processing facility a day after it is collected by a carrier or dropped off at a post office.
Please get your vote in. Don't forget to sign your envelope, and we look forward to high turnout.
Now, it's important to note, dropping your ballot in a USPS mailbox is different than dropping it into one of your county's official ballot boxes. Those boxes are open, like polls, until 8 p.m. on Election Day. And as long as you're in line by 8 p.m. to drop your ballot into one of those official county ballot boxes, your vote will count.
All right, Becca, thank you.
Well, food banks nationwide are bracing for what they say will be a surge in demand like never before. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom announced he plans to send the National Guard to help with hunger relief.
ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh has the details from Stockton, where the governor held a news conference today.
We're on site at the 2025 California Economic Summit, where Governor Newsom spoke and then met with press shortly after. He addressed many points that have been contentious in recent days and weeks, most notably President Trump announcing plans to deploy the National Guard to San Francisco. Newsom held up a lawsuit saying it's ready to be filed in a nanosecond should the president act on his promise. Newsom also addressed Prop 50 and the upcoming November special election, saying there's no room to lose and that he will pick up speed to campaign in the next 2 weeks. But here's what he had to say about food banks.
Governor Gavin Newsom says he's deploying the National Guard to assist food banks and is expediting $80 million in state funding.
So we are fast tracking an $80 million investment. We're front loading it to get them to food banks. And we're using the framework that we established during COVID to build out our capacity to deliver quickly food to those in need around Thanksgiving.
This all to combat the looming threat of increased food insecurity.
And I'm very worried about 5 million people in a matter of days losing food stamp, losing their SNAP benefits, and entering in a grocery store with Donald Trump's tariffs and inflation.
Folks are experiencing food insecurity at rates we haven't seen before.
As November inches closer, so is the possibility of hunger for many relying on the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. That's known as CalFresh in California, and more than 5.5 million Californians are on it.
Withholding of those benefits could cause a surge in demand.
Withholding of benefits for the month of November, a direct order by the federal government. The governor's office says Californians won't get their monthly benefits if the government doesn't reopen or fund the SNAP program by Thursday, October 23rd. Food banks say they're already bracing for impact, tapping into reserves.
We're going to spend at least $500,000 right now to be able to respond to this, to the shutdown. But the longer this persists, the more that's going to cost.
Casey Castillo with the San Diego Food Bank says it's a time in which an increase in demand isn't met with increase in supply. What food banks need are more food and more money to buy food.
Number of things that are happening, it's really a bad combination.
And we can always use the help, especially if demand continues to increase.
Newsom emphasized this is what the National Guard should be used for, to assist civilians, as they have with fire recovery efforts and also in the past with COVID-19 and food bank assistance. As for a direct timeline on when they're going to be deployed to food banks, Newsom's team says we'll know more come November. In Stockton, Jenny Huh, ABC 10.
A major crash in Southern California tonight is causing a political firestorm, and it has connections to Northern California.
3 people died in the crash Tuesday that investigators believe was caused by a truck driver who was in the country illegally. ABC 10's Gabriel Porras has the details.
On a Southern California freeway, mangled cars and debris scattered everywhere. The horrific remnants of a Tuesday crash that killed 3 people.
It just blows my mind. It keeps going through my head. I could have been one of the dead people.
21-year-old Jashanpreet Singh, prosecutors say, behind the wheel of the truck that caused the chaos. He's now in jail, facing 3 charges of gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated and 1 charge of driving while under the influence of a drug causing injury. We went to the Yuba City neighborhood where Singh lived. His neighbors didn't want to talk on camera, The White House, however, is talking about it.
On October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, Singh first came to the U.S. from India in 2022 illegally through the southern border. The White House says that California gave Singh a license.
I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions.
It's broad daylight, right? There's no sign that says stop it. It's just somebody that's not paying attention.
Florida-based attorney Joe Camerlengo has been practicing transportation law for 17 years. He says the case highlights the need for change.
For these crashes to stop, it needs to be a federal and state effort. The problem is right now there's people coming from all over the world to the United States just to form trucking companies because it's so easy. It's literally pay $300, sign a form, get the insurance. Voila, you're a motor carrier.
The logo on the truck that investigators say Singh was behind the wheel of is connected to Mathon Trans. We checked the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's website, which lists it as a broker with a Sacramento address on Poppy Hill Way. We knocked on the door, but no one answered. We also checked the Secretary of State's website, which lists Harjit Singh as the agent. We sent an email to an account associated with the business, but didn't hear back. A filing with the Indiana Secretary of State lists Harjit Singh as the governing person of Mathon Transport LLC. Scenes of wreckage leaving Camerlengo calling for more oversight.
Every 14 minutes, someone is killed in a tractor-trailer crash in our country, and that's getting worse, not better.
In Yuba City, Gabriel Porras, ABC10.
Now, in an email to ABC10, the California DMV said it followed all federal laws and standards when it came to issuing Singh a license. They also say the federal government approved his employment authorization documents. In 10 on Your Side, we're getting answers to your questions about the continued government shutdown and what help is available for people struggling to make ends meet just weeks before the Thanksgiving holiday. One viewer wants to know, why do members of Congress still get paid during a government shutdown? It just seems fair that if regular people are affected by a shutdown, Congress should be too. Thank you for your time and for covering issues that matter. Please keep me anonymous. I don't want to enter the realm of politics. 10 on Your Side took that question straight to Congressman John Garamendi.
I'm going to forego my pay also. I know many of my colleagues will also. If American who are working for the federal government are not going to get paid, well, I don't want to be paid either.
The second longest shutdown in history is causing widespread hardship, with millions going without a paycheck. Congressman Garamendi's office tells 10 on Your Side programs like Army Emergency Relief may provide an interest-free loan equal to the amount of one paycheck, up to $6,000, for soldiers and families who experience financial hardships due to a lack of pay. Soldiers must repay the full amount within 30 days.
Trump has moved some money around and presumably the military will be paid. But that leaves out the other millions of Americans that work directly or indirectly for the federal government. It is a very, very serious problem.
His office notes the California Employment Development Department is encouraging federal employees to file an unemployment claim, and banks like Wells Fargo now have dedicated sections on their website. Affected by the government shutdown, get help now, they proclaim.
And I think we should be exploring any and all avenues to end this. I think the notion that some are saying that this might last until Thanksgiving is absolutely outrageous. If we have another month of this with the costs continuing to pile up for the American people.
The Agriculture Department announced 2,100 county offices are reopening all across the nation despite the ongoing government shutdown to help farmers and ranchers get access to $3 billion of aid from existing programs.
But a lot of those contacts at the federal agencies have now been furloughed themselves. So this is making it, we're still, doing everything that we can to help out constituents.
With no end in sight to the government shutdown, 10 on Your Side is working to get answers on your questions from leaders on both sides of the aisle. Do you have a problem and don't know where else to turn? Email me at onyourside@abc10.com.
In tonight's Dollars and Cents. Fraudulent timeshare companies can cheat you out of thousands of dollars. These companies thrive on scare tactics and misinformation. But there are ways to stop these scammers, and it starts with knowing the facts.
I think you've got to really make sure once you go do your research
that you're going to understand how you're going to use the product, because we know happy timeshare owners are ones who actually go on vacation.
That's why the American Resort Development Association, a trade association for the timeshare and vacation ownership industry, created the Timeshare Consumer Protection Center.
We know there are a lot of people out there searching for answers. The tcpc.org is there to provide unbiased information to get them to understand the do's and don'ts, and maybe most importantly, how to avoid scams that are out there in the marketplace today.
10 million households in the U.S. own some sort of timeshare, according to ARDA, while AARP reports about 850,000 would like to sell within 2 years. What are some questions folks should be asking?
Well, first question is, if you now have made the decision that you're going to exit your timeshare, the first thing is, well, what are my expectations? And really, when somebody buys a timeshare, they're buying it for their own personal use. They are not buying it for an investment purpose. There should be no expectation that at the end of your timeshare usage, that you're going to get all of your money back. And many times, a successful exit will be returning your timeshare to your developer or your resort if they have a program. The second question might be if they don't have a program, or if I'd like to try to make some of that initial purchase price back, then who are the legitimate companies out there who can resell my timeshare?
The FBI says at least 6,000 U.S. victims reported losing nearly $300 million between 2019 and 2023 due to timeshare scams out of Mexico alone. What are some of the major red flags you're seeing that consumers need to know about?
One of the biggest red flags for a consumer, first I'd have to say, let's make sure they're properly educated even before they get into the timeshare product. When it comes to the exit side, I think if somebody reaches out to you, that's a big red flag. And really third, I would say that another big red flag is whether or not somebody says something's going to be easy. It still may take you several weeks or even a few months before the exit process is completed.
The center also aims to share accurate and reliable information backed up by official sources like the Federal Trade Commission and state attorneys general offices.
If you decide to engage a third-party exit company to help you out, you first have to understand, well, what are the terms of engagement? How much are they asking for? And is the price really the price?
The conversation doesn't end here. Next week, we hear from a timeshare realtor who explains some of the major pitfalls her clients have faced and some useful tactics you can use to unload your timeshare. Until then, you can email me your questions at lpainter@abc10.com and watch my other Dollars and Cents coverage streaming now on the free ABC10 Plus TV streaming app. New tonight, reaction is pouring in after Jesuit High School announced it'll start admitting girls in 2027. Now, some parents and alumni are trying to fight the change and keep Jesuit an all-boys school.
ABC 10's Guarsh Paul-Sung explains what they're doing and why they say the process was not fair.
The conversations around Jesuit High School's decision to admit girls hasn't quieted down. Instead, it's galvanized parents and alumni who say they were blindsided.
A lot of sadness, to be perfectly frank.
Louis Stanfield, a 2003 graduate, former Jesuit coach, and a Hall of Famer, says while the move to go co-divisional isn't inherently bad, it changes the core of Jesuit's identity.
It absolutely changes one of the main things that makes that school so special.
Dan Cairns graduated in 2010.
We like to think we're a big Jesuit family, and here this is a very big decision being made, and a lot of the family members were never consulted.
Cairns and Stanfield are willing to speak on camera, but they're not alone. Others against the decision shared their thoughts on Facebook, trying to preserve Jesuits' traditions. Some alumni are now taking their action with their wallets, launching a campaign to raise money, citing they were told changes was due to financial reasons.
Trying to get their attention and hopefully, have them reconsider. Because right now it just feels to a lot of us like they're jamming this agenda down our throats.
So far, supporters say they have raised around $3 million. The pledge is over a 5-year commitment, but that pledge is tied to conditions. It only stands if Jesuit remains all-boys school.
Also, my son and his friends, they're upset about it and they're confused by it.
Parents like Haley Heller says her family chose Jesuit for its brotherhood and traditions.
I really think that the students that enrolled this year, the freshmen, should get the full experience that they were signed up for.
In a statement, Jesuit President Chris Alling told ABC 10 the Board of Trustees' decision is final, calling it, quote, a thorough and deliberative process to ensure, quote, commitment to Jesuits' mission ensures long-term sustainability and expands access to young women. He adds the school is now focused on, quote, thoughtful implementation ahead of the 2027-2028 school year. Another informational session is planned for those associated with the school, and that is going to be next Tuesday. Obviously, some parents supportive of the move, others trying to figure out what are the next steps. Reporting in Sacramento County, Garj Paul Sunga, ABC 10.
This is the northeasternmost edge of Modoc County, the very place where California's boundary starts to take shape. I'm in search of the Tri-State Border Monument that separates California, Oregon, and Nevada, but it's not easy.
Oh yeah, we're getting into it now.
The area is rough, rocky, and covered in sagebrush, and I have no idea where I'm going.
The monument is on this side of the fence a little bit.
So to find the monument, I enlisted the help of Roger Farshon, a retired ecologist with the Bureau of Land Management and a local historian.
The surveyor that established the line that where we're heading was out here in 1872. There was not much out here.
The surveyor that Roger is talking about is Alexi von Schmidt, a skilled surveyor who came to California to strike it rich during the gold rush, but ended up surveying many parts of the state for the U.S. government.
It's closer to the fence than I thought it was.
There it is?
There it is.
California's northern and southern boundaries were already established. Von Schmidt was hired to mark the eastern boundary of the state at 120 degrees longitude, a line from the Oregon Territory to the 34th parallel, then survey a diagonal line all the way to the 35th parallel at the Colorado River, which makes a natural boundary down to Mexico.
It's not exactly what I envisioned it to be, but I mean, I guess it's a marker.
Yes.
The pile of rocks and mortar may not look like much, but it's the start of California's eastern border. It's also the start of numerous problems that von Schmidt ran into when he arrived in 1872.
When he got up here, he found it was somewhere around 3 miles to the west of the 120th meridian.
Back then, mistakes like this were not uncommon. Finding latitude and longitude required complex math and precise time and adjusting for the curvature of the Earth. Von Schmidt did the best he could to correct the previous surveyor's errors and then headed south.
And this is just the first point. Every mile on that boundary there, he established another a mile post.
Von Schmidt's plan was to plot the boundary line in one season, but partway through the project, he ran into a roadblock, Lake Tahoe.
Well, in 1872, they did the best job that they could.
Plotting the boundary line through Lake Tahoe proved to be extremely difficult, and it's the reason that California has a 5th point in the middle of the lake. But that boundary point is something we'll talk about in a different episode. Von Schmidt's tri-state border marker is not easy to get to, but for those who do make it,
treasures.
It's a pilgrimage for people to explore California's origins and maybe leave a little gift or message in honor of Alexi von Schmidt, the man who helped shape California.
You gonna sign your name, John?
Heck yeah, I am.
From the Tri-State Survey Monument, I'm John Bartell. Hope to see you on the backroads.
Thanks for watching ABC 10 Plus this week. We are here 24/7 on the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. You can get your local news and weather anytime, anywhere. I'm Chris Thomas. We'll see you next time.